Somewhere around here, there's a bunch of vendors. Oh, they're right there. Right in front of us. And a lot of food vendors too, people. So if you're hungry, there's plenty of food around, and water. Make sure you check out the water. The Ridge Fire Department's here, just in case anybody's hurting or dehydrated. Just check out the fire department right behind us. We used to have 1 year rehab section. That was we had a picture. It was a rehab tent. Made no difference. But I think it was getting hotter that day. Must have been in Louisiana. Jimmy Butler, summer's not over, people. What do the ladies say? 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 Billy Voltaire at the drive-in, red convertible 65. He was hanging down a Mississippi. He was a black of the ship of the mine. When the ship came in, looked at the sea, feeling his old song. Billy's heart came along to it all. Here's the Margaritaville, here's the ball. Time to change the world. Time to kiss a girl. You're gonna go right straight to hell. There were pinball machines and Cajun queens, even nice little scars. Billy's heart came along through it all. Here's where we ever came along. Time to change the world. Time to kiss a girl. Time to cross that wide meridian. Time to take a chance. Come and learn to catch a dance. Oh, talk about hey now, I go on there. Jack 'em on the feet, oh, I'm down there. Jack 'em on the feet, I'm there. My spot boat to your spot boat, sitting by the fire. My spot boat to your spot boat, gonna sit you tame on fire. Talk about set your tail on fire. Talk about hey now, hey now. I go all day. Jack 'em on the feet all down day. Jack 'em on the feet all day. Oh, talk about hey now, hey now. I go all day. Jack 'em on the feet all down day. What a day, people.
Ready? Good job. That was great. Excellent. Got it. Now we're leaving. Come on. Ah, you got it.
He wants to show off.
Come on. We're going to be sitting here all day.
You're up?
You got it already.
Driving. I think I feel more comfortable driving because I feel sorry, but I use Mason as the wheel. She's gonna love that. I forgot. I talked about
I'd give it a shot.
That's one slim thing. That's one slim thing. Yeah. I like it. Look at it.
Yeah. I thought you were like...
I didn't know goats wear halters.
What's that?
I didn't know goats wear halters. Yeah. That's cute.
Yeah, it's mostly just for transport.
oh, look, they're laying together.
That they were aggressive, you're like, you don't have to do that.
See you later, kid.
This goes to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was a good day too.
This right here, right? The Springfield has a bit of an L shape.
Sleep in these teepees.
Why? Because they didn't have big houses last time.
All the way up. Yeah. There you go.
Oh, we're a co-ed group. My wife is part of the team. Yeah, if you could just like go over everything that's on the table here, I guess.
Okay. Let me know when it's recording.
Yep, you're good.
Okay. Regiment of the Confederate Army. The guys over there to my right are those blue bellies, the Yankees, the Union guys.
Right.
So there was two sides during the Civil War. There was the Confederates or the rebels, like us, the Southerners, and then the Northerners over there.
Right.
We wore gray during the mid and late war, and parts of the middle and the early war, and they wore blue.
Should I do a side profile?
If you may look over there, that flag over there, most people say that that is the original Confederate flag, or the Confederate flag in general. That's not entirely true. This flag over here is the Confederate flag of our country. Now, during the beginning of the Civil War, when we defected from the North, we established ourselves as our own country, and every new country needs its own flag. We wanted to have some influence on the North. So, see how the North, or the Union flag, has stars and stripes, where they have red stripes, white stripes, and then they have that blue square with white stars in it.
Right.
Ours is very similar. Ours have 2 red bars, 1 white bar, and then stars in the middle.
You got any questions for us, sir?
Theirs is called the Stars and Stripes. Ours are called the Stars and Bars. Now, during the beginning of the Civil War, everything was all disarrayed. You had Northerners wearing gray uniforms, you had Southerners wearing blue uniforms, and you had multiple militia unions wearing all colors of the rainbow. So it was very difficult to establish who was who. So you would rally, it was part of a tactic to rally on your country's flag during battle, so you know who was who. But the problem is during the battle, that flag looks a lot similar to that flag from a distance. So with all this battle going on, Northerners would go on and rally to this flag, Southerners would rally on that flag, and then the enemy would go, "Who the heck are you?" Bang! And kill you.
Make it easy for them, right?
That's why they switched to the X flag right over there.
Right.
It's because it's more distinguishable from this flag.
Correct.
So that's a bit about the flags. I'll tell you a bit about the uniforms. As you can see, all of us are wearing wool uniforms. You might be thinking because it's stupid. We're stupid, right?
It's time. It's gonna be too hot.
Weather outside. Well, the reason why we're wearing the wool uniform in 90-degree weather is because when it drops down to 40 degrees, 30 degrees, 20 degrees at night, it's freezing cold. If I was wearing this cotton stuff that you guys are wearing at night, I'd freeze to death, die of hypothermia. But if I had this wool uniform on, I might survive another day. And it's also very water resistant. Water would brush right off it. So
it's like an all-purpose uniform, right?
So that's a bit about this and the flag. So there was many reasons why the Civil War was fought on both sides. The Civil War is not as black and white as people like to make it out to be. It's more so a very gray area.
Right.
Because there was the reasons why governments fought and the reasons why individuals fought. So I'll talk a little bit. The reasons why the Northerners fought, I'm generalizing this. The reasons why the Northerners fought was to preserve the Union and stop the expansion of slavery at first, and then later on stop slavery. And the Southerners, like us, we were fighting to get away from a tyrannical government. We were fighting for states' rights, and of course for the economic reason slavery. Slavery is unfortunately a big part in the Southern Empire, and I'll tell you why.
You know what flag that is?
This stuff right here.
Cotton.
This is cotton. Cotton is not grown in a dollar store. It's grown very rough, very abrasively. So, slavery before the Civil War was starting to die out because it was very ineffective. Because in order to make the max profit out of cotton, you need to pick it. You have to pick it off from like the trees and stuff or bushes.
Right.
And then you got to pick all the seeds and crap out of it. And then you have to put large amounts of it in bales and ship it out to make a profit.
Correct.
Which was very ineffective. And when you have these slaves and regular workers that you have to feed and house and clothe, because there were laws on slaves, it was very not so cost effective. Plantation owners were losing more than what they were gaining, so slavery was starting to die out. Until a man named Eli Whitney came along. Is he familiar?
Yes.
Eli Whitney was a man who made the cotton gin. which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a big machine where you take large amounts of these and you shove them into the machine, and it automatically separates all the garbage from the cotton. So what was eventually dying down was starting to become great again. It was starting to shoot up. So, and unlike us, where we were an agrarian society, and for the government's cause, that was the only way of making money, the North, on the other hand, large amounts of factories. And they didn't rely on slaves because during the melting pot around the same time, they were having large amounts of immigrants. People from China, Russia, Germany, all parts of the world. So you had one side that was not necessarily needing slaves, while another half was economically dependent on them. So one side thought that the other side was hell-bent on expanding slavery, and the other side was worried that they were trying to take their slaves away. So, and there was a lot of other reasons why, but those were the main economic reasons.
Right.
Do any of you know what is considered the first battle of the Civil War?
So now it's not Gettysburg. No, it's
not. That is mid-war. Like, you might have heard of Fort Sumter.
Fort Sumter. Yes, yes.
The Battle of Fort Sumter is considered the first battle in the Civil War. During this, once we segregated from the Union, we started seizing federal military property that was on the South. And when the Northerners didn't want to give up the fortress of Fort Sumter, which was in South Carolina, we, in response, shot at the fort and took it over. And that was the first start of the Civil War. So, that's a bit about the history.
Right.
Now I'll talk about the weapons and some other stuff that you see on the table.
I basically challenge him. I say,
In the beginning of the Civil War,
you're ignorant. You don't know
the North,
anything.
they had plenty of weapons, but on the South, we didn't have a standardized weapon at this time. Because in the beginning of the war, we were basically just a bunch of rebellion units. So we just scrounged up what we had. We had people taking shotguns, we had people taking rifles like these, we had people bringing smoothbores, which were way outdated at the time. People just had pistols. So, but during like the mid-war to beginning of the war, we started trading with Great Britain. They would take large bales of cotton, and in return, they would give us weapons, cannons, food, ammo, and clothing. So, this was the standard rifle that became part of the British Army. This is called a P. Enfield, made in 1853. It shoots one of these.
Right.
This is called a mini ball or Minet ball, mispronounced by us, because us Americans, we can't get other foreign languages right.
Right.
So, we were setting our military to look a lot like the French Empire at the time, based off of Emperor Napoleon France III, because they were the best military at the time, so we were being influenced by them. So, at the time, before the Civil War, we had a bunch of smoothbore weapons. Do you guys know what that is?
It means they didn't have tongues and grooves, like it didn't spin, the bullet didn't spin, it just...
You are right.
Like ricocheted off the barrel.
The guns did not have any rifling on the inside. It was smoothbore. It was completely smooth on the inside as it is on the outside. So when you shot the gun, the bullet would rattle in the gun. So it would shoot out, it would go that way, that way, that way, that way. You would hit everything but the person you're aiming at.
Right.
So that's why at the time they were fighting in those big long lines like a bunch of idiots, because that was the only way you could hit something.
Right.
But as time grows, we get more modern weapons and more effective weapons, like this. Rifling was a big thing. Rifling finally became standardized in the military. It was around during the Revolutionary War, but it only became mass-produced when we came about.
Right.
So, basically what rifling is, for the people watching on the camera, is rifling are these metal grooves that are in the gun, and it makes the bullet inside spin, making it go very far. So once we had 50-yard guns that shot at 50 yards, now we have rifles that shoot at 200 yards. And that's when the mini ball came into about. Now, as you can see, the mini ball, it's very hollow on the inside.
Right.
Now, it's very hollow on the inside because when it shoots out in the gun, this end kind of expands a little bit in the gun, causing it to get a better spin, causing it to shoot even further. But even though we had these guns that shot very far, we were still using these same Napoleonic tactics, where we line up like a bunch of morons and we shoot at each other.
Right.
So I'm sure that people watching this, or you, mister, who knows the term bone shattering, a bullet like this would go into you, like a hole this size, and come out, making like the size of a hand.
Right.
A piece of meat like that would come out. So I'm going to put this away. So if you got shot anywhere in the chest area or body area,
You were done for.
you're done for. They just threw you off to the side. Sorry, pal, I can't help you. But if you were lucky, you get shot in the arms or the legs. And unfortunately, once you get shot there, it's completely gone. Everything in your body's shattered. The bone's gone. And the doctors, they worked all day and night. And they only had about 6 minutes to work on you, roughly. So they stick you with chloroform so you knock out. And then they take like a hacksaw and they go into town at you. They go to town and they cut it off.
Ouch.
And if you were lucky and if you survived that, you'd be able to collect your pension at the end of the war. Now, a bit how the pension worked at the end of the war. Every soldier during the Civil War earned $15. However, if you were a colored regiment in the North, you would get $10. And for each limb that you lost, you would get $2 roughly. $2. But the catch is you had to make it home to your door. So if you were, if the last part of the war that you were part was down in Virginia, you had to walk all the way up to Maine to your house. And if you died at your porch, you would not collect your pension. So you would have to actually enter your house. So if you died inside your house, then you collect your pension. But the bright
At least
side,
your family would, yeah.
But the bright side of that is, if you had 4 limbs missing, you collect $4 extra. So you could probably buy half a horse with that. So that's a bit about that. So that's a bit about the rifles. Rifles are single shot.
Right.
You would load it. You would take one of these cartridges here. You'd rip it apart, pour the powder in, put the bullet in. You take this thing called a rammer, and you ram it all down. So, that's a bit about that. Now, we had these new inventions at the time. These are called revolvers, or pistols. These were called pistols back then. Revolvers and pistols were given their own distinction later on, when we had semi-automatic magazine-fed weapons coming about. But these were very innovative at the time, because unlike these smoothbore weapons that fired one bullet at a time, these fired like about 6. Excuse me, mister. Please do not touch anything on the table yet. I'll let you touch it in a few minutes if you want to step. So, now this pistol here is a .31 caliber revolver.
Right.
This was used by civilians at the time and police. I mean, civilians could get all of these, but this was the most common at the time. This fires 6 shots, but a lot of them were just 5 shots. That's the civilian. This is more so something for an officer in the military. This fires a .44 caliber bullet.
Right, wow.
It's shiny, very shiny. They didn't have chrome back then, but it was roughly as shiny because it wasn't really used very often.
Oh, there was no chrome at all back then?
No, it was more so for self-defense, but the officer was always at the back of the line, so he didn't have to worry about that very often.
So just the replica is nickel-plated?
Yes. And this is my first sergeant's pistol. He used this very often. My first sergeant would carry a pistol and a rifle. The rifle was for the enemy, but the pistol, it was for me. So, let's say the officer at the line, he says, we have to charge to those Yankee guys over there. And we start, and the battle commences. My first sergeant's job is to keep order in the line. Make sure no one falls back, no one retreats, unless it's commanded. So, if he sees me to start falling back, to start to run away, because I'm getting scared, my officer pulls out his pistol, and he goes, halt. And if I don't stop dead in my track and get in the line, he shoot me right in the back. And he'd use me as an example. This is going to happen to you guys if you run away. Wow. Because at the time, it was seen as cowardice to run away from a fight.
Sure, yeah.
I think it goes for today as well, but back then, if you enlisted, you were expected to do your job. So that's a bit about the pistols and that. These are how the bullets are packaged, the rifles.
Right.
These are some dug-up bullets from Gettysburg. Odds are, if you go there today with a metal detector, you'll probably find millions lying around still.
Wow.
These are how the bullets are packaged. They come in these nice little paper packages, not the fancy plastic cartridge boxes that they come in today, unfortunately. Right. So that's a bit about the pistols and rifles. This is a bayonet.
Right.
This goes on the gun. like so. Now, this has a similar, well, it's pretty much the same thing as the Revolutionary War and all wars beyond it. And it has a very unique shape to it. There's no other bayonet that looks like this. And it's like this because when you dig it into someone and you pull it out, it leaves a very deep triangular wound that was very difficult to sew up. So similar to the bullet, the mini bullet, the doctor would just put you off to the side and say, sorry pal, I can't help you. But the problem is this had a drawback. A lot of soldiers didn't use this as a weapon because when you dug into someone,
Couldn't get it back.
can't get it out.
Right, right.
So while you're trying to struggle to get it out, the person to the right shoots you in the face and then you're dead. So what they would use this for as like an entrenching tool, which is for digging.
Right.
Or if you were able to read at the time, because mass illiteracy was still a thing,
Sure, yeah.
you dig this into the ground like so, and then you put a camera, like a candle in there,
I can't hold
a
it.
candle, and then so you can read at night if you could read. I can't. So that's a bit about that. I'm gonna move down the line a little bit. It's coming along. This here is unfortunately food. Now,
Doesn't look too tasty.
I don't know about this. I wouldn't eat this. If I throw this at someone's face, it'll break their nose. So I wouldn't eat this. This is called hardtack. Originally, before that, being called chips biscuit and buccellatum. Buccellatum being a Roman term. The Romans first invented this hardtack, and it was brought down even to modern day today, not because of how good it tasted, because it tasted horrible, but because it was able to sustain a large shelf life. They were made of water and dough. That's it. Sometimes maybe salt or sugar if you were lucky. But they were very hard. Like you would bite into it and it would break your teeth.
Right, right.
So what they would do is they would take large crates of it, because they came in boxes, and you pour them into a cauldron, and then you pour water into it so that they seep up and
We're out of
smooth.
business.
And on the bright side, it will get all the bugs out. Unless you want to eat the bugs. Some people like to eat bugs for some reason. I call them
This will
weirdos.
end very quickly.
Yeah, so that's a bit about that.
I've been asked, how
I think
come
this is like
when
money
you're doing
or
a
war
reenactment
bonds at
that
the
you
time.
don't
This is
fly
Confederate.
fire?
Yeah.
This is a Confederate
Okay.
war bond at the time.
And I'm going.
Now that's a bit about that.
You want my
Let's talk a
hobby to
little bit
die
about
out one
artillery.
weekend?
Now, I'm not an artillery guy, but I can tell you a bit about it.
As
So
reenactors,
this is
we're
any
very
military
upset
people
because
watching.
we heard the
This
story
is basically
about
the
that,
first mortar shell at the
young
time.
lady
Right.
who was shot and killed on a movie
This is
set.
called a Bosca shell. Don't ask me the English translation.
Okay.
What you do is you take this thing here, this little switch here,
Right.
you just kind of like twist that thing around to the timer that you want. It's a timed fuse.
So you can set it at different times.
So you launch in the can, you put the can kind of like at an arc, or you use like a mortar, and you shoot it off. When you shoot it off, the gunpowder on the inside burns off. And then once it expires, the powder expires on the inside, it blows up. And when it blows up, things called shrapnel comes raining down on the end. Would you like to hold it? You can hold it and take a look at it.
Wow.
And you don't want to be holding that. You don't want to get hit by that, because guess what you get for Christmas when you hold that? You get coloring books for the rest of your life. When you get
Yeah.
Down the barrel.
That's a bit about that.
Take your rifle, get off the field. Even when
Now
we're
I got
firing
this.
at each other, and we
This
fire
is
at
called a
these
solid
guys,
shot.
you
This has
go
been
in
a
at the
traditional
person.
round that
God
has been
forbid
brought
there's
to
a
the
stone
American
that goes down this barrel.
And
That's
this is
a weapon.
called an 8-pounder. Can you take a guess why it's called an 8-pounder?
I'm doing this.
It weighs 8 pounds, maybe?
You are right.
Okay.
You won't believe how many people get it wrong. That's why I'm making sure.
Okay.
So I'm gonna let you hold this. It's 8 pounds, so be careful. It will break your foot. I promise you.
Injury
It's very
because
heavy.
of gunfire.
It's like a shot put or
And I want to keep my record
So
clean.
this was not really designed for people. This was designed for buildings. So if you may look over there, you see that white building over there in the distance? That structure
Yeah,
there?
way over there, right.
That's what this was
Your day is
designed
over.
for. So say a bunch of enemy guys were in that building over there.
Right.
You shove this into that can there and you launch it off. This will go through that wall,
Even
throughout the house, out the other end,
when
and
it's
into
two-
the next
let's say we
building
meet in the
behind
middle
it.
of the field,
And it'll take
it's
out
gotta be
every
scripted.
enemy that's in
It's not
front.
like you could take
Wow.
your bayonet and just
That's what
charge
this
it.
was used for.
No.
I think they're safe in there, but
If we're doing a reenactment, that there is no fixed bayonets. If my sergeant or my captain see you pull out your rammer in the middle of the field, you will get kicked.
This right here
in the beak.
is called grape shot or canister shot.
What are you doing?
It fires little grapes over
Safety,
there.
safety,
And as you can see on the inside, there are little lead balls in there.
Reenactment.
You take 40 of these little lead balls and you shove it into this thing. This was designed for personnel
from
people.
behind the line.
You shove this at the
Because
can
what will happen
and
when
you
you're
aim
deaf,
it point
you're
blank right at the
assaulted.
large army of troops coming at you.
Right.
You launch it off at them and whatever is there ain't there anymore.
right.
And this corporal here goes up to the kid and kicks him in the rub and says, "Why are you firing from behind the line? You should be on the line. Why did you kick?"
Now I'll talk about this stuff.
There are pictures
Now,
of us over
Mister,
the years.
it looks like you shave.
Right.
So this is for you. Congratulations, you joined the army. So you have to cut all this off.
Right.
So you take a bunch of soap and water.
Sit up, Joe. Brush
Yes.
Virginia.
And then you take your shaving knife. Okay.
For the unit that is known as the
Take your
body
shaving knife.
What pushback do you get?
This thing here.
Wow.
All right, go. Bring it on. Bring it
And
on.
you shave like this.
Oh yeah, that's almost like a regular
Okay, I
old
tell
It's a really-
Baba slave. Yeah.
This is representative
But at the
of
time,
our
women couldn't shave.
Confederacy from
So it's actually a
1861,
proven fact that
1865.
women at the
We are
time,
not the
they
Aryan
were
nation.
still
We are
hairy
not
at the
the
time
Ku
because
Klux
Wow.
Klan.
it would
We
take a
don't
lot
want
of
to represent these
band-aids
people.
to shave your
We are-
body.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Oh, that's okay.
This here is a very famous knife. I don't know the exact history of it, but it's called a Bowie knife.
I've been in front
After a guy named Bowie.
17 years.
This was made. This was originally an original, like a regular standardized knife.
Given time.
However, it was made famous during
have
a
to
battle
answer these
for the Mexican-American War,
Right.
where
And I
there was
gotta
like a
do it
duel
right.
going on,
gotta
where
say
two
to
guys were
somebody.
fighting with the pistols at the time. The pistol didn't work, so the guy pulled out the knife and started stabbing the heck out of him.
I've had a woman
And this
approach me
knife
and
was
said, "Why are you
named
flying that way?"
the Bowie
I
knife
told her
after
who
this
we are
man
and what we represent.
in honor
That
of him
wasn't good enough.
after he
Why aren't the
died
Yankees
in the
here?
Mexican-American
I said,
War.
well, Max from the 67th.
So did every soldier have one of those knives?
He calls me up and says, "Nelson, I need
These kind of knives,
I need some.
they were a personal
I
item.
need some pen for."
Oh, that wasn't issued by.
No, you. No problem.
Knives and
We go out
stuff
to
are
walk
things
out
that
on the
soldiers
outside.
would take with them as personal needs.
Why are you flying that way?
Because those weren't really issued. The only knife that was issued to you was the bayonet.
Right.
And it wasn't really as effective as you heard a few minutes ago.
No, I wouldn't think so.
So, that's a bit about everything. You also have the bullets are picked and how they're made.
Right, right.
I'm not going to let you touch those because those are made of lead.
Right.
Want to intend to contaminate you.
Yeah, I don't want to touch those.
That's pretty much everything I'd like to show you.
All right, my friend.
So, thank you for coming by.
Thank
There
you.
are a few photos here. Some
Yes.
of them are original photos of the original 30th Virginia, and some of them are modern day pictures.
Right.
Okay.
We were originally a
Well, we've
a militia unit before the war.
Hopefully we don't go backwards.
And once the war started, we became a police unit.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Although, I'm pretty much done, I always like to end off with a bit of firearm safety. Because these guns, people like to get these. Now, I don't know your opinion on guns, but in case if you ever want to own one of these firearms,
Yes.
it's very important. I ask you this. Are these things loaded?
That's what I'm saying. Get rid of anything you didn't absolutely need to get rid of.
I would hope not.
The answer is, you should always assume that these weapons are loaded.
Yes. Okay.
If your friend finds one of these in your grandpa's attic and he points at you as a joke, first you have to tell him to get that thing away from you.
Right.
You take it from him, you reverse it like this, and you beat the heck out of him with it.
Right. But you to assume that it is loaded.
If you plan on owning firearms in the future,
To the camp in the
I
30th.
please
do,
practice
actually.
good firearm safety.
Yes.
Only point this at something that you want to destroy.
Please
Right.
come closer.
The finger's not a
Got lot
trigger
to
rest.
talk
Keep your
about.
finger off the trigger unless you're ready to
What
use
it
it.
is?
Correct.
This is a bocce ball. Do you know about how to play
That's a bit
bocce?
about firearm safety. Same goes with the rifles and knives. So, thank you for watching and listening to me talk for hours and hours.
Right.
I appreciate it.
They get big.
I understand I talk a lot, but I like to talk.
That's good.
This was ship to
So,
ship.
thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation.
You're very much welcome.
All right,
Very,
thank you.
Very
You're welcome.
understanding. This